One of the easiest ways to make a pinch pot is by starting out with a ball of clay. In this case, we're going to be making 2 pinch pots and combining them together for the actual egg structure. So for the beginning, all you need to do is have your wedged clay into a ball. If it starts out in that ram's head wedge shape, it's much more difficult to turn it into a shaped pot or like a little bowl. So you'll have your ball of clay, and then you just basically press your thumb all the way down into the center. You don't want to poke so far that you poke through the clay, but press down enough that you're kind of opening up the ball of clay, and then with your thumb that you just put that hole in there with, and then the other fingers, you are going to start to pinch the clay so that way it thins out. You can use your other hand as a guide, and then you're just pinching the clay and kind of twisting it as you go. As you can see, it's starting to open up the clay. You may notice that your thumb is kind of digging into one side more than the other. Just apply pressure on the other side if you notice that happening. Basically, what you're trying to do is open up this clay so it's more like a little bowl. Now, we don't want to have a flat bottom like a bowl would because we're making an egg. So as you keep twisting, try to keep in mind the actual shape at the end. So I just continue to pinch the clay as I am turning it. Now, the top of it is a little bit uneven, so there's a couple things you can do to even it out. You can either smooth it out with a tool, or you can cut off the uneven parts. So from my little tool caddy here, I am going to take what is called a fettling knife, and this can kind of help just even out that top. So there's a couple ways you can do it. You can either hold it like this and then cut down. You don't need to saw with a fettling knife and going back and forth. You can just press. Or you can hold it at eye level and kind of see the uneven inconsistencies and just kind of trim as needed, almost like you're peeling a vegetable. But for the sake of the video, I'm just going to keep it flat in the viewfinder, and I'm going to hold the shape of this so I don't collapse the bowl, and I'm just going to gently push down and cut off that uneven part. Now that clay may stick to your knife, just move it off to the side. You don't need it anymore. And then you'll just do this to the other uneven parts as well. And then now it's a little bit flatter. The inside doesn't matter so much because we're going to be closing it up. So it doesn't matter if it's like jagged looking or a little uneven, but you do need to keep clay thickness in mind. If clay is super thick, almost like an inch thick or more, it will explode in the kiln. So clay has a drying time that it requires, and if clay is really thick, it takes a long time for the center of something to dry, and moisture in clay at high temperatures will cause this whole thing to burst. So we need to make sure that our clay thickness isn't outrageous, okay? If it is helpful, look at the width of the wall of the bowl here, and you can see it's about a 1/2 inch. That is plenty thick. You could even go a little thinner and pinch the clay a little bit more to thin it out. Feel the bottom as well. If it feels overly thick, you can tell by kind of using your index finger and your thumb, or your middle finger and your thumb, and kind of feeling how thick that is. And if it feels super thick, just keep pressing and pinching and kind of thin out the base or the bottom of that bowl, because this is going to be the other half of your egg. So 1/2, and then you're going to make the second half and combine the two. You may, the more you work with it, notice a little bit more uneven edges on the top. Again, just cut those off, but keep in mind, the more you cut off, the shorter and shorter the bowl is getting, which is going to shrink the size of your egg. So do that carefully. I would pay close attention as you are making those cuts and check for that thickness. Any unevenness on the back is an easy fix. In this caddy, I've got all sorts of wooden and plastic tools for smoothing. I'm just going to grab this wooden tool, would be fine. And I can just use this and press onto the clay, and it starts to smooth out those cracks. I don't need to really fill these gaps with anything, with other pieces of clay or anything like that. I can just smooth those out, and then even use my finger and kind of hide any of that cracking that was on there, or any splitting edges. So once you have your first pinch pot made, you're gonna just set that off to the side. You can lay it down like a bowl or upside down, either way, but keep in mind it's going to roll a little bit. So I would maybe just put it flat, and then you're gonna start your second one.